we approach the Bible, sometimes we say literally. That's a good word, but I think it can be misunderstood, as if they're not figures of speech, if there are, all those things, which of course there are. What we really mean when we say literally is we mean normally, the way you would interpret and approach any other piece of literature. So when we come to the early chapters of Genesis, we interpret them as we would that genre, that kind of literature. Let's take Genesis 1 and 2 aside. Let's even take Genesis 1, 2, and 3 aside for a moment. How would you read and interpret starting in Genesis 4 through Genesis 50? You would take that as historical narrative. Why? Because that's all the pointers are there for historical narrative, both in English and in Hebrew. And so it is not normal hermeneutics to take the first several chapters and lop them off and say, they look like historical narrative, they look like the rest of the book, they look like they're describing 6 literal days, but that must not be what it means, okay? So first of all, it violates a basic hermeneutic. But let's go to the question specifically in terms of the days. The Hebrew word is yom. When it is used in the plural or with an ordinal number, it never means ages. It never means indefinite periods of time. It's used constantly throughout the Old Testament, and it never means that in any other context. What I would encourage you to do, there are a number of arguments that we would lay out biblically for why we believe those are 6 24-hour literal days. What I would encourage you to do is I did a series a couple years ago on the distinctives of the church, and that's one of them. We believe in a literal 6-day creation. Why? It's not because of anything outside the Scripture, but I laid out a series of biblical arguments for that. So I would just encourage you to go work through that, and I think it will help you sort through that as you deal with this issue. There's also an institution nearby that several folks in our church are a part of called the Institute for Creation Research here in Dallas. They put out a lot of great materials that'll help you address what appear to be there, and they're only apparent discrepancies between what can be observed scientifically and what the Bible teaches. But in the end, what trumps what? And the answer is the Bible trumps everything else. And so what does God say? He's the only one who was there. And so we have to look at what he said, and we have to interpret it in a normal way, the way we'd interpret any other piece of literature. That's how Jesus, by the way, interpreted it, right? When you see how he references the first 3 chapters of Genesis, that's how he treats them. So go back, and again, there are a series of arguments. I think there were 7 or 8 arguments I laid out in that message. So go back and listen to that, and then if you still want to read some more, come see me. I'll get you some good resources, all right?